Good evening, 49er faithful. Welcome to another episode of the live member call-in show for the Sneakerheads here on the channel. Anybody can be a part of this dialogue. If you're here, throw it into the chat. We want to have as much interaction as possible, but this show is all about what you want to talk about, and that is the channel members here on Rob Schuh's channel, the Sneakerheads, as they are affectionately referred to here. Very excited to get into the callers. Did want to take a moment to do a little bit of appreciation. First, I'll run through the show for those of you that are first-time viewers here. The way in which it works is I go caller by caller. We have a general topic wherein we're talking about the retirements of Frank Gore. We're talking about the retirement of Alex Mack. We're talking about what's going on in OTAs. What are the camp battles that you're very excited to see at this point in time? Has that changed now that you know your starting center isn't going to be there this year? So we will go one by one. I'll try to move through the callers as we have people waiting down in the waiting room. And the way in which you can find the call-in link, again, you have to be a channel member in order to call in because this is a video call-in show. I allow people to come on the screen, can't have any funny business, and I trust the channel members. It's located on my community tab on my YouTube page. The link has already been dropped into the chat, but because I'm talking about it right now, I'm dropping it again. All right, the link is in there multiple times. I am going to do a little something right now before I go into the conversation with the viewers. I want to bring this up. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Maybe even there we go. Get Frank blown up there. Get me down in the corner there. Can't have Frank covered up at all there. This is my thank you to Frank Gore. Frank Gore took a moment to thank the faithful. And I'll be honest, in watching it, the way in which he spoke to the camera, the way in which he spoke about the faithful touched me. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. I felt that. I felt Frank Gore's emotion in thanking us for being with him on that ride. An incredible goddamn ride it was. After the draft in 2005, the 10 seasons that he spent with the San Francisco 49ers, the incredible career that he had within the NFL. It really is something to me as a 49er faithful, as someone who has been a member of the faithful for a long, long time. I remember the Frank Gore years with a lot of passion. I remember it with a lot of positive sentiment for Frank Gore putting his body out there on the line consistently on teams that were not that great. The highlight was watching Frank Gore. I mean, some of those teams were bad, and Frank was out there. Frank was worth watching. Frank was the highlight reel. Going through some of his stats, I want to read out, and this is going to be a direct quote, so please excuse the choice language. This is going to be Adam Snyder. For those of you that remember Adam Snyder, you will remember that he had a colorful way of expressing himself. In talking about the first time he came across Frank Gore, Adam Snyder said this: "We met for the first time, and I noticed he's got a big old necklace, like a medallion, and it was a stop sign. And in the middle, it said Gore instead of stop. So I said, what's that all about? And he said, man, motherfuckers can't stop Gore. And I thought, you're my guy. If you have that attitude, we're going to get along just fine." Adam Snyder was a beast. Frank Gore was a beast, and then some. Just that attitude, coming out with 2 knee injuries. Nobody's going to stop me. And they didn't. That comment aged well. From the New York Post article coming out today, Frank Gore's statistics over his 16-year career: 16,000 rushing yards, 100 touchdowns. I love the big round numbers for both of those. 16,000 even rushing yards, 100 touchdowns, 484 catches for 3,985 yards, 5 Pro Bowl appearances. Behind only Walter Payton and Emmitt Smith for both carries and rushing yards. I'm sorry, that's a first ballot Hall of Famer if I've ever heard of one. more games than any other running back, 241. And we act as if this longevity takes away from his stats. Bullshit. It adds to the legend. Most consecutive seasons with 1,200 yards from scrimmage, with 12 in the NFL, ladies and gentlemen. Gore is also the 49ers franchise leader in career rushing yards, 11,703. Touchdowns, 64. 13,956 yards from scrimmage, ranked behind only the GOAT, Jerry Rice, in 49ers franchise history. When Frank Gore spoke about the 49ers in his retirement, in leaving the 49ers, he said, "I will talk about San Francisco as we and us for the rest of my life." Me too, Frank. Me too. I thought the end paragraph from the Sports Illustrated SI.com article by Connor Orr was a fitting one. He loved a game that almost never loved him back, which is why he retires as one of the greatest players in NFL history. Not in college after he tore his ACL twice. Not in the draft after he was passed over 64 times. Not in the waning moments of his career, signing one contract after another for the veterans minimum and no promises beyond mop-up duty. It is safe to assume, given all we know about football now, given a player's ability to walk into a broadcast booth and make enough money in 1 year to buy a small chain of Caribbean islands, that Gore was the last of his kind. That alone is worth remembering. Amen to that. Shout out to Frank Gore, my favorite modern 49er, no doubt about it in my mind. Just had to do a little bit of a tribute to Frank Gore. Absolutely adore that man. Adore the way he played the game. Love the fact that people in the chat are giving it up for Gore as well. All right, enough of the sentimentality. I appreciate all of you that are here in the chat. We got a ton of folks popping off in there. As always, we will attempt to bring in your comments. Please put in the @Rob Schuh when you have a topic that you want discussed between myself and the Sneakerheads. Our Mob Nation gets it. Be sure to sack that like button, faithful. Yes, that is the way in which you can help out this channel. Carlos coming in, the inconvenient truth. Everybody talking about Frank Gore. Raphael 5629ers just so enthused about Frank Gore that he's come in to yell it. Frank Gore. Yes, the man, the myth, the legend. Number 21, but number one in your hearts. Number one in my heart. I agree, Alan. He is forever 21. Forever 21. I feel like that's a fitting name. Forever 21. Man, I'm excited. All right, we are bringing in our first caller now. Very excited to bring in SwanSong to the program. SwanSong, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Rob. My kids are out of school. It's going to get a louder here at home, but glad I don't have to bust them around to and fro anymore.
Yes, that's always a good thing. Getting them out of school for the year, right? Has summer vacation. I hope summer vacation is as fun as it used to be when I was a kid, because we went a little crazy over summer break.
Yeah, my kids are pretty good. It's a good balance. They go outside, stay in. They have a pretty good balance on that.
That's important. That's very important. All right, so what are your thoughts on the Frank Gore retirement and the Alex Mack news? I mean, clearly Frank Gore, just a moment of appreciation and what your memories are of Frank or what you appreciated most about him. But also interested to hear your thoughts on Alex Mack and the impact on the current team.
You know, you summed it up really well. I mean, I think he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think the way that the NFL is propping him up right now, it hints to that. His stats, like third ever, like when you hear third ever, that's just the mic drop. And then you add on all the other stories that you can make about Frank, about his longevity. And I was thinking of one when you were talking, and it's like, I can't remember a game where you're going, man, only if Frank could play a little harder.
Right?
Yeah. Do you ever remember a game where you feel like, oh man, Frank's not in it, man?
No.
I don't ever remember a game, and he never tossed. He hardly ever fumbled the ball. his heart was always in it. Like that was one of the things that hurt me the most about that Super Bowl loss, and I hate to bring it up, is that it was probably going to be the last chance of Frank and Patrick Willis, or at least Frank.
Yep.
It looked that way. I mean,
it did.
So, or it could have been the last, right? So it ended up being the last. But yeah, I mean, he is, they should retire his number. He should be a first ballot Hall of Fame, and he's going to be the way that he loves the Niners. Like, is there any other Niner that cares about the Niners as much as he does?
No,
like
there isn't. We've got to find a spot for him within the organization. I mean, he's always been touted as having an eye for talent, right? That people have always said Frank Gore could spot the other ballers. He could spot people who could ball. I want him in the scouting department. Like, I don't care. I just need him to have some sort of title that brings him into the building so that I can talk more about Frank Gore going forward.
Give him a role. I mean, anyone that's that enthusiastic about something it's contagious, right?
Yes.
So I don't care what he does. Like, just have him walk around.
Totally. Make sure it's something that shows the right level of respect for Frank Gore, fitting of Frank Gore's stature. But other than that, I don't care. This is one of those moments where, and I don't do this often, but I'm going to praise Jed York, because Jed York was always super enthusiastic in speaking about Frank, and always unquestionable in his support of Frank Gore, lavishing praise upon him, stating that, whenever Frank hung him up, he was going to be back as a 49er, unequivocally. So I will give Jed a hard time for a lot of the things he does. Here today was a moment to shine. I thought he did it well. Those smiles plastered across his face in those photographs, I think, show a human being genuinely happy in that moment, genuinely loving his friend and former co-worker in Frank Gore. Yeah,
and it's another example of the whole family mentality, or the credo that the 49ers want to have. Like, and you could see it by so many players coming back and being a part of the team, caring about the team, and those type of things, and that's the one thing, Jed has done and the Yorks have done, is that they've kept that alive,
Yes.
As much as we criticize, as you said, of them, that's you can hear it from a lot of players, former, present, and and past, that so it's like you see that, right? Like, you hear that all the time about them, come back, just talking good things about the Niners and talking about, like, we. So it's like, it's always good to see.
Yes, it is. Chris Royal coming in with the super chat. Assistant running backs coach. I would love that, alongside, assuming Bobby Turner comes back next year, bring Bobby Turner back. Bobby Turner and Frank Gore in the same room. Oh my God. Forget about it. I'm telling you. All right. So we've been lavishing the praise on Frank, but those are the glory days. Let's talk about our current 49ers. You said it, I mean, Alex Mack news, we were talking about this before the start of the program, but the Alex Mack news, was not completely unexpected. We knew that there was a chance of this, but I think you, like myself, were hoping that it was leaning towards him sticking around, and that prolonging this news was going to be good news. That was not the case. Let me first and foremost admit to everyone who is watching, anyone listening, I was absolutely wrong on that take. I thought no news was good news when it came to Mac. I said repeatedly that since we hadn't heard yesterday, I thought Mac was going to be back. He's not back. He's retiring. I was wrong.
Yeah, and the thing is, I was in the same boat as you. And the thing about it is, it's not all bad either, because even when I was thinking of Mac returning, there was a part of me that said, well, if he does return, that's just another year that some other new player is not going to be able to develop with Trey, right? So you'd have a center that goes in. Yes, we want to have that stability at center, obviously, right? But we're not going to get that. But it's not all bad, because if what's in-house right now, like if I had to bet, if they don't bring another center in, I have to bet that Brendel's probably going to win that position, and he's worked with Trey since last year, right? So like on the scout team, preseason last year, and so far it seems like all the snaps he's getting is from Brendel and OTAs. So Brendel is a journeyman. He's 30 years old. He hasn't had many games, but he started 4 years at UCLA, and he's supposed to be really smart. And if we liked all the athletic things about Poe and West,
Right.
Jack Hammer did a really good rundown of research on this. Is that Brendel's combine? Granted, it was in 2014. Brendel's combine was more impressive on the lateral movement, on a lot of these drills that are what an offensive lineman, that those are the things that you should pay attention to on offensive lineman. His numbers are a lot better, from what Jack said, than Poe or West. And,
yes.
And on top of that, he's smart. He's been in the system a couple years. So, I know a lot of people are saying Treader, and that's fine too, because Treader, he I guess allowed 1 sack last year. And but the only problem with Treader is that he never practiced one game.
Yes.
Right. So it's like, and it's both knees that he has, like both bad knees. So that's a little bit concerning. Like, I mean,
it is.
I would.
Just to clarify for those watching that may not have read that piece. So JC Treader has not, I don't think he's missed a single game in the time that he was with Cleveland over the past 5 seasons, right? Maybe missed 1 or 2 over those seasons. But to SwanSong's point, he did not practice much, if at all, during that time. It was maintenance, right? It was, hey, the knees are flaring up. Don't practice during the week, but then suit up and play on game days. That's fine if you come in and crush it. You're familiar with the system. But I think what SwanSong's driving at here, which is a concern for me as well, you bring him in and he's not practicing with Trey. He's not getting those needed reps with a young quarterback, a new pairing, a new system. So I do think that's a concern as well.
Yeah. And also gelling, because what is the one thing that we always hear about offensive line? They got to play as a unit.
Totally.
Right?
It's all about cohesion.
So then what's going to happen? These guys are going to be like, oh, we never practiced with him, and now we're going to be just playing games with him. Like, they're going to have to learn. They're going to all have to learn on the job. It's just kind of weird. Like, I don't know. Like, if he checks out and that he can actually practice, then yeah, it would be a great signing. But if it's still the same thing, like he can't practice, I'm not sure that's the direction that you want to go. Like, do you really want to go that way? And the fact that he hasn't been signed yet and there was like a few teams that needed center, and that no one has, he's still on the free agent market, that there's some things that you need to worry about that. Like what's the deal with that?
That is a red flag. I mean, that's something that you want to keep an eye on. What is the reasoning? I mean, perhaps it's because, he thought that this job was going to open up and he was holding out for that. If that's the case, I'd feel a little bit better about it, but maybe it's because teams have real concerns about his injury history with those knees. It's much like Dee Ford. He played a record number of snaps with the Kansas City Chiefs before coming to the San Francisco 49ers. It appeared as if he was set to be a bit of an Iron Man in that regard. Then he comes over here, the back flares up. Now it becomes a huge issue. So if that's the same for JC Treader, I don't know that you really want to commit to something like that. And I do agree that the one point that I should have keyed in on that should have been the tell as far as the 49ers giving us information about Mack and his retirement was when they started talking up Jake Brendel. As soon as they started to pump up Jake Brendel, I should have locked in on that, and I should have used that as the basis for my logic to say, hey, they've been told that Alex Mack isn't coming back. They are preparing us for Brendel's season, or at least a season where Brendel gets the vast majority of the reps. And I love that you called out Jack Hammer's breakdown of that. I saw Jack earlier in the chat came in and said, fired up Rob is the best. I do get a little fiery sometimes, don't I, Jack? But yes, Jack did a great breakdown of that athleticism for Brendel. The team seems very high on him. So it would appear that he's going to get that first crack at the position.
Yeah, and I'm fine with it. If they feel that he's going to be sufficient, and because the thing that you worry about the most, right, is he going to be is he going to know what he's doing?
Right.
Obviously, I think he knows what he's doing. He was a 4-year starter at UCLA. He's been in the system now. This is going to be his 3rd year. He's taken snaps with Trey. So I mean, I've seen him in the background on some of the OTAs. He looks, like a center. You know what I mean? He looks in shape. He looks fine. And, I'm fine with it. I'm not too worried about that. It's like, I mean, if Brendel wasn't there and we just had rookies, then I'd be really worried.
Yeah,
like if we just
feel
had
you.
Poe and West, I'd be like, oh, okay, I don't know, but I'm not too concerned about it.
Nor am I. It's going to be a great camp battle to keep our eyes on. All right, real quick, I want to get your take on this before I go down to the next caller. What's the biggest camp battle you've got your eyes on when we actually get to that point of competition, SwanSong?
The offensive line, definitely. Like, I want to see who's going to compete against Banks. I just don't want him to just get the job.
Right.
I want to see the competition, of course, at center and right guard. I think, yeah.
It's a little nerve-wracking that you're talking about 60% of our offensive line there, SwanSong.
Well, the thing about it is it's fine because Brunskill at right guard, I'm fine with.
Yes, me too.
But if he gets beat out, then that's a good sign, right?
That's a positive.
Yeah, that's a huge positive. And then, like, Banks, I hope – I don't really like his energy, like, at the press conference, but maybe that's just the way he is.
Yeah, a little low-key.
He does look more fit. So that's a positive. And, yeah, we'll see how this breaks out. And then, of course, on the defensive end, on the defensive side, it's that slot corner position. That's going to be,
Darquez Denard. Got my eyes on that first-round draft pick. SwanSong, I'd say we do a roundtable at the end, but we got the Warriors game on tonight. I doubt that many people are going to stick around after 6 o'clock, so we'll probably wrap shortly after that. But as always, phenomenal talking with you, my friend.
Thanks, Rob. Take care.
All right. See you soon, my friend. All right, bringing in Sean 951 Niners to the stream. Sean, how you doing, man? Good to see you, brother.
Doing good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Yeah, I didn't even know Mac retired until I logged on to your stream.
Oh, man.
I literally didn't. I didn't get any update on my phone or anything, so I really did not know. But that just tells me then this year, no matter what happens, our year is going to be completely indicated by our front five.
Yeah. Now, okay, so we now have the definitive news. I think it's fair to assume that the organization knew significantly earlier than we did, right? I don't know that there's any reason to assume that he kept this a secret from the organization. Just to bring in Philip's comment here, everyone thought Mac would be back. I wish him the best for the rest of his life, but I can't help feeling somewhat abandoned. Optimistic take is that Shanahan has a plan. I do think the organization has a plan, and they probably do not feel abandoned because I'm guessing they were let in on this earlier than we were. And I have to take my role in that, account for my role in that, in saying Mac would be back, and admit again, I was very wrong about that. I read the tea leaves incorrectly. Again, now I look back, hindsight being 2020, as soon as they started playing up Brendel, I should have known. That is the quintessential John Lynch move, right? Who's the in-house candidate that's going to replace that player? Pump him up. And so that should have been the key. Now that you know that, looking back on the draft, are you still okay with the outcome of the draft, or are you now disappointed looking back that it doesn't seem that we really added to that position? We didn't really address it.
I don't like to answer that because it's not fair, right? Because as you mentioned, they already knew Mac was going to retire, so they beat Brendel. So I'm the type of fan and faithful that when I don't have any evidence in front of me, I'm going to trust that the front office, Shanahan and Lynch, have a legitimate plan that's in the best interest of not only their own team but also the faithful.
I was going to say the assumption here then is that Jake Brendel would be ready to step into that role.
If that's who they're beefing up for that, then yes. But again, for me, in June 2nd, let me see OTAs happen. Let me get the training camp underway. Let's start seeing our defensive line against them, because the one biggest issue we have, or not we, those other guys other than Williams you are going to see Bosa, Kinlaw, Armstead. You're going to get the new rookie Jackson. You're going to get a plethora of others, Willis and other guys that have come on and gotten better. We're going to know very quickly if we're in trouble or if we're not, because if they can just hold their own against our D-line, That's the blessing in disguise. They get to have 3 months going up against the best defensive line in the league. So
that's a great point.
If you want a true test of where you're gonna be at, we're gonna need to be practicing our ones a lot against our ones, in my opinion, regardless of who cares about the injury aspect of it. Other than Williams, maybe they just have to go fire against fire. And McGlinchey, he better be healthy. I sure hope he took everything to heart over the last year and a half and takes his 5th-year option. He's on a contract year now. Let's all be honest.
Yes.
If he wants to see another paycheck, he better show the rest of the NFL as long as with faithful that he's
absolutely
ready to play.
His play this year is very much going to dictate the size of that next contract. So he is going to be playing his little butt off. Emiliano pointing out astutely that at least you know why they drafted the best pass blocking running back in the draft. They knew Lance and the O-line were going to need some help. It is good to have a good pass blocking running back there, just like Frank Gore was. Have to throw out Gore's name every chance that I get, honoring him on his retirement. All right, so Sean, what in watching OTAs, in what's going on with the 49ers right now, what's on your mind?
To me, it's only the O-line now. I'm out of the Lance. He's QB1. Jimmy's inevitable at some point now. We can finally move past that. Lance is QB1. Everybody knows it. He's acting like it. He's just got to get better, and let's see what happens. We go into week 1. But at the end of the day, with the O-line, if that's not shored up and solid to whatever plan they have, I mean, look at Mahomes in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. If you don't have an O-line, you could be the greatest quarterback in the league, and you can get blown out in the game.
No doubt.
It doesn't matter. Run around, be it whatever. It doesn't matter. So to me, the O-line is going to tell everything from an offensive perspective. Our saving grace in all of this is we will have a top 3 defense, barring injury. We'll have a top 3 defense this year, and he's got enough weapons around him to be able to create. I'm just curious the confidence level of Shanahan and Lynch with the other 3 guys on the line right now that they have slotted in as their potential number ones. That's my pure curiosity, is going to be those guys.
Mine too, and certainly that is something to watch. I mean, if we have that top 3 defense, as you reference, and I mean, Shanahan has proven, even with a patchwork offensive line, he can keep that run game going. I mean, unless the assertion would be that Mike McDaniel had a huge role in that, and the loss of Mike McDaniel would really hurt there. I have faith that even if we have new faces in 60% of our offensive line, which is entirely possible, it seems incredibly likely that it's at a minimum 2 new faces along the offensive line, and that would mean Brunskill stays at the right guard spot. But certainly it's possible he gets beaten out at the right guard spot or takes snaps at the center spot, so he moves over to a different position. If that's the case, you want a strong run game, you need a strong defense, strong special teams. Those things combined could be enough, so long as we can get good play from the offensive line with regard to pass protection and good play from Trey Lance as well.
And that's why I think that the O-line that we have now may be better than we think, because also from earlier what I mentioned, think about last year. They were on scout team with Lance the entire time. You had Banks, McKivitz, Moore, Brunskill before he came in was that right guard. And then who's the other? There's one more. They all practiced against
Justin School as well.
School. They all practiced against our number ones all year. They were the scout team. I mean, that's what they were doing. So to me, if you get a full season with our number ones, at least going 75%, I'm pretty sure we would have known going into the draft this year, we're in deep trouble in the number 2s on our O-line.
Right.
So I'm going to just bank on that. I mean, I don't have any visual evidence or anything to say other than just speculation. But to me, they drafted him. They're sticking with him. I think and I also think this too, I always talk about how the teammates talk to each other, right? You think that if our D-line destroyed those O-linemen every single practice and made them look like JV football players, you think they would believe in Shanahan and Lynch's plan going into this year with that losing and knowing you're losing Mack, and that's what we've constructed for them? Do you think Trent Williams would want to be a 49er on the left side if he was told, hey, I'm going to roll with these pieces of crap? The odds are there's been improvements made
Yes.
And with Trey Lance being a lot more mobile and such, not having a statue back there in Garoppolo, I'm assuming the game plan and the way that they're going to maneuver, the scheme offensively, I'm going to trust they have a plan. I'm just going to do that here. June 2nd, I'm going to trust that.
And I think that's fair. To this point, they have proven that they've earned a little bit of trust from us, the faithful. They seem to make correct decisions more often than not when building this roster. I have for years now been talking about how deep this team is. I feel even more passionately about it this offseason. So I think you're right. There has to be some level of trust going into it, that they have made the right calls, that they have the right people in the building at this point, and that if they don't, they have a plan to bring in someone to those calls that you see in the chat for JC Treader. I don't know that that's going to be the case. My guess is probably not, but he is out there. If something goes amiss during training camp, you have that option. He's going to be available so long as he's not signed by another team. Going into the remainder of OTAs, the mandatory minicamp and training camp, do you have a particular position battle that you've got your eye on, a camp battle that you think is going to really determine the trajectory of this team?
So we're going to throw the O-line out.
Yes, right. The obvious choice.
So the trajectory of this team, I think I'm going to go with our wide receivers in this sense. Deebo Samuel needs to be 100% committed, which it's yet to say. We shall see. Hopefully that's what we see if he's there for mandatory minicamp like we heard he would be.
Fingers crossed.
If he's 100% looks like Deebo, fine. I'm going to assume he will be. I want to see if Gray can continue to take the steps that he's taking, that I hear he's taking, and to see if he can become, the burner, the Marquise Goodwin, the guy, with better hands, the guy that can help us take a top off of defense when we already have a third down guy in Jennings. We proved that last year. Obviously, Ayuk with Kittle. I mean, that's just crazy, right? To me, if he can solidify that missing link of that guy who can take the top off, maybe he just becomes our artificial Tyreek Hill for a season.
Oof, I'd like that.
Know. I don't know, right? Because at the end of the day, we always talk, Shanahan's not a big fan of trusting in rookies. But you can trust a guy to run 80 yards on a play.
Unless they're an undrafted running back, in which case he trusts them completely.
But you know why he trusts those guys? Because when he looks at his depth chart after the quarter one in the first game of the season, he's like, well, whoever you are, come on in, 86.
Hey, what was it, Elijah? Is that your name? Elijah, come on in, buddy.
He's like, oh, you sound biblical. He's got your back. Come on in here.
It was meant to be.
But, I mean, really, yes, the positions that get beat up because of Shanahan's undoing, it's still his philosophy.
Yes.
Hit that 100 miles an hour, you get one cut. I don't care what happens. Cover the ball, don't fumble, or you won't be in the next play. I mean, that's ultimately his philosophy.
Well, who do you think, just between who do you think is going to have that 4 spot of the most production? Do you think it's going to be Danny Gray or Ray McCloud? Who has a better statistical year?
Well, because of what we just talked about and the trust in the rookie, if I had money on the table, I'm going to put McCloud just by default. I mean, we're paying him money, right? He didn't just come over for pennies.
No, it wasn't peanuts. I mean, it's not a crazy contract, but it's some real money in there. I agree. I think when you look at total touches, Ray's going to outproduce Danny, but potentially Danny has more receptions. That I think Ray may get a couple more carries than Danny Gray would.
Yeah, I would say that. But a one little dark horse thing to think about is, what if Gray returns some punts in some situations we need quick, blazing speed field position. I'm just saying, I mean, you never know if we may get used in that role as well, just to keep him engaged, as a rookie at that point. But either way, Ray's going to be involved, period. I mean, they're going to use him in multiple roles and make sure that, guys that get paid like that, they have to be involved in the game plan, or they just lose. This is the way it is. They're not in tune with what's going on. You try to, if you can keep everybody involved in, and especially in our offense, we always do. Yeah. Normally you have a game plan for one guy, and then you have 1B with Jimmy. At least in this case here, it's like, hey, guy, Trey could be a Russell Wilson. We don't know. He may just find the 4th guy by default because our right guard got blown up. He had to roll out right. I mean, you don't know, right? So keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel. Anybody could get the ball. I think that's kind of how that may play a little bit.
Man, I can't wait for frickin' football. I cannot wait until we're talking about actual football. All right, you going to be watching the Warriors game tonight?
Yes, I'll be watching the Warriors Celtics. So one last thing on Frank Gore.
Yes.
There's 0% chance he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. If you look at the first 5 years when we were an absolute dog crap football team in terms of competing, I think we had 1 year of 500 football. Everything else was under 500. He was cracking off 1,100, 1,200, 14, I think even 1,600 yards in one of those years. If you can do that off 2 ACLs and last that many years and put up that many yards, I don't care who you are, you're first ballot, period, point blank. It's not even a discussion. Period, point blank. It's not a discussion. Done. Sean, excellent call. Fantastic. I appreciate you, my friend. You got it, bud. Have a good rest of your call. Hey, you too, my friend. All right, bringing Chris Royal into the stream. Chris, how you doing, man? Ooh, digging the jersey. Got the gold going.
Yeah, it's the Kittle jersey, but
Yes,
I figured I'd wear the gold jersey because, Frank Gore's going to have this gold jacket, within the next 5 years.
Gold jacket walking into the Hall of Fame. I may have to go back out to Canton for that. I had the very good fortune of being at Joe Montana and Ronnie Lott's induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2000. I feel like this is another instance of another player that I'd like to be there for. I might have to try and make my way out to Canton, Ohio.
Yeah, that would be definitely an awesome experience for sure.
I'm telling you. I also love the color coordination that you got the reverse color scheme going on the hat. It's on point, Chris. It is on point.
I'll thank my daughter for that because she was the one that picked it out. I really don't have any sense of style. I was about to go with the black and red one, and she's like, "No, you probably shouldn't."
It's important to have good women in your life. It is very important to have good women in your life.
Definitely.
Yes. All right. So what's going on with your thoughts around the Alex Mack news? Were you in the camp? Were you like myself? Did you believe no news was good news and that he'd be back and you were sort of caught off guard by this? Or were you like, I do want to bring it up because I got to give credit where credit's due. Thomas Luttrell correctly calling the fact that Mack would wait to announce his retirement until after the 6/1 date passed. And Thomas was absolutely correct about that happening. Which side of the fence were you on, and how do you feel about it now?
I was leaning more towards what you were thinking, that no news is good news.
Right.
I figured he would have said something by now, but I'm not really shocked about it either. He is up there in age. He just got married. He's probably wanting to start a family and settle down. So, it didn't floor me by any stretch of the imagination.
No, he just got married to a nice Irish woman that it seems very pleasant in the reel that came out today of him trying to learn the Irish sayings with her. I'm sure he's going to enjoy retirement. I wish him nothing but the best. Cheers to you, Alex Mack. But I am a little sad about it.
Oh, definitely. It definitely makes our line a little bit more sketchy.
Yeah, but, intriguing, perhaps. Sketchy is a better word.
Yeah, I'll stick with sketchy, but it is definitely intriguing. I do want to see the growth on the younger guys, but I am looking forward to. I really want to see Talanoa Hufanga. I think he's going to make a big jump this year. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, you hear some exciting things from D'Amico Ryans has said some exciting things. Jimmy Ward has said some exciting things. And it appears as though people are reporting that he's very vocal in practice. So there's no hitting going on. It's not completely full speed when you're at OTAs, right? Guys are probably more concerned about coming out of OTAs healthy, more about the getting back together, bringing the team together, the camaraderie, installing any new plays, things like that. But I would guess that, it is a scenario where what we're seing gives us reason for optimism.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's going to make a huge jump. I'm really excited to see what he brings to the game.
Yeah, me too. So that's the position that you are most excited about watching in the position group battles?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I hear you. That one, Darqueze Dennard, very excited about the cornerback position. I have to say that in both of those, I was initially worried that the 49ers did not do enough to patch those particular positions. Now, I felt that way about center as well, and I could be proven wrong there as well. I just want to put that out there, that even though I feel like, well, now that we know the organization was probably let in on this retirement news earlier than we were, that they were probably aware of it during the draft, I find it somewhat surprising that we didn't invest in a center with a higher pick. Potentially, we were going that route in the third round before we took TDP, and the centers that we felt were of the appropriate value had already come off the board. But to not even take Donovan West until an undrafted free agent, to me, signifies that like you weren't prioritizing that really at all. And so I can either choose to use that as a reason to be fearful about the center position, thinking that they haven't done enough to shore it up, or I can flip the script and use it as the 49ers' confidence in Jake Brendel. And to Sean's point earlier, that they have earned our trust and we should potentially just place a little bit of faith in Jake Brendel to begin the season.
Yeah, I'm there right with you. I think that was to me, it was either one or two things. Like Alex Mack was really on the fence and they didn't know for sure. And the draft came and gone, but I really think that they probably knew. I would imagine he was saying, look, I'm leaning more towards retiring. And but yeah, I agree. I think they're all in on Brendel to, see how he's going to do.
Yes. Did you take away from the two media days? Did you take away anything that left you feeling excited? Did anyone that you watch on YouTube or anyone that you read or listen to on podcasts, did anyone mention a name that you hadn't been looking at before that now you have your eye on?
As far as the rookies go, I'm getting a little bit more interested in TDP.
Yes.
I really want to see how he's going to fit into Shanahan's offense. And to go back to what you and Sean 951 was saying, I really think that Gray could possibly be used as like a kick returner or a punt returner. So he might end up having more of an impact than the other gentleman you were talking about.
I think that's a fair point. Whomever ends up grabbing that punt returner or kick returner role has a chance to have a better season, because those units appear to be set to take that next level as opposed to last year, where we were certainly not good on both coverage and return units. All right, bringing in Scott Davidson. We got a super chat here. How good do you guys think Ayuk will be this year with Lance? I'm saying 1,400 yards and 9 touchdowns. That's a monster freaking season, Scott. I love it. I did predict 1,000-yard receiving season for Ayuk, but I can't go higher than that. I see too many mouths to get fed here, right? You got Kittle, you got Ayuk, you got Debo, and then obviously it's a run-first offense. And so you're probably going to get 3 guys that each eclipse 700 rushing yards. So when I look at all of that, there are just so many mouths to feed. I can't imagine Ayuk hitting that 1,400-yard mark, but I absolutely love your enthusiasm, Scott. If you're doing a way too early prediction of how you think Ayuk's going to break out, Chris, what's your stat line for BA?
Yeah, I think that 9 touchdown is pretty realistic.
Yeah.
I would say I think he could probably get to about 1,200 yards, to be honest.
Ooh.
I mean, even if you had 2 wide receivers at 1,200 yards, that's only a 2,800-yard season for Lance, and I think he's going to blow that out of the water. So even if he's throwing to 500-600 yards to Kittle, I mean, there's a lot of mouths to feed, but
yes.
The bigger person at the table usually gets the most, right? So a lot of people are thinking Ayuk is going to make that big jump, and if he does, he might be targeted a lot more than the other guys.
He just might. Having that chemistry is nothing to be scoffed at. Kevin, Sneakerhead here on the channel with the reverse prediction, a little bit lower. He'll get 707 touchdowns. A much more conservative look at it. Before I let you go, Chris, got to bring in the compliment. Jeffrey correctly stating that's a great-looking cat and dog. That is, I definitely have noticed a German Shepherd. I mean, a handsome German Shepherd. Boy or a girl there, Chris?
He's a boy.
Boy,
Yep.
all right. Yep. Yes, I like it when he makes appearances on the stream.
I do too, as long as he's not barking outside. Then it gets annoying.
That's right. That's right. He's got to know that it's Niner talk time.
Yep.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, as always, I love having you on the show, Chris. Thank you so much for the call.
I appreciate you having me on, Rob.
Absolutely, my friend. We will see you again soon.
All right.
All right. Later, brother. All right. Bringing in William Bennett to the stream. What's up, William? How you doing, man? Yes, sir. Cheers.
How you doing, sir? How's everything?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. I am happy to be on here right now. Glad that there's a game on tonight. It feels like spring has finally sprung here in Portland. We got warm weather coming up. The rain seems to be a thing of the past. So we're going in the right direction, my friend.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. I just wanted to give my props out to Frank Gore. I remember those times of being faithful and hearing a lot of crap from here in DC. We have a lot of Cowboy and at the time Redskins or now Commander fans. A lot of crap about those years.
Yes, sir. I bet there were.
And you know, I had to eat them all.
there wasn't much to refute there, right? It was like, yeah, you're pretty much right, except for Frank Gore.
Hey, that was the shining light for us, man. He'd be like, you know, we're gonna beat y'all. Be like, well, wait a minute, we still got Frank Gore.
The inconvenient truth.
And just like was being Grant said, despite how bad our team was, and people knew the ball was going to Frank, Frank was just like a rhino.
Yes.
I used to yell his name like Gore. man, he's had a prolific dream career.
Yes.
And to be did it as long as he has as a running back, that is extremely rare. I don't think people understand. For him not only to play for the Niners as much as but then to transition to other teams and still hold a certain level of play, that is rare.
I really want to know. So Frank has 241 games as a running back, most in NFL history. I wish that article I got that from had listed the next running back, because I'm guessing that there's a freaking chunk of games in between Frank and the player that's behind him there.
Man. Frank Gore was just, you know, who I thought was going to be, we might had our Frank Gore replacement. It didn't pan out for us, but I thought it was going to be Alfred Morris.
Ooh.
I thought he had a little bit of Gore, but
yeah.
He didn't have Gore. He didn't have Gore.
No, man. He did not. He ran out of tread pretty early on in his career. He came across the Shanahans too early. He got too much usage.
Hey, but I agree with you. The one thing Jed did right, the one thing the 49ers did right, because we've lost so many players who should have, you know, who were Hall of Fame Niners who left our team. I'm glad they allowed Frank to come back and retire as a Niner. That was the only way to do that. If I would have seriously been upset if he would have retired as not a 49er.
Oh, that would have been terrible. Would have been terrible, because he said it over and over again that he wanted to retire as a 49er, that he viewed this as that I am a part of the 49ers. When he would speak about the Niners, even when he was a free agent or on other teams, he would talk about when talking about San Francisco. I found it to be so endearing. I mean, I already love the guy for what he did on the field, but everything he said after leaving the organization just made me love him that much more.
I mean, Frank Gore was one of those players, even the teams he went for. And usually I'm a Niners fan all the way true and true. You know my birthday, April 9th. I'm born to be.
That's right, 4-9.
So Frank is one of those players that transitions to another team and no matter what color they're wearing, all you see is the red and gold, baby.
Yes.
No matter, and all you can do is hope and wish him much success on anything he does, because that man has really, really bled for our team.
Yes, he has.
So
he gave up his body early on in his career, just sacrificing for those yards. He was always the guy who, when it looked like he should get 1 yard, he got 4 yards. He just found a way through those holes.
I mean, if you just look at the highlights in his career, it's just like when you thought he was stopped or you thought somebody was boom, and he just, because I'm telling you, I've sat with many of other team Cowboy and Commander fans, and they'll be like, oh, y'all think y'all gonna run Gore? And just to see him break 4, 5 tackles and run for a TD, we haven't seen that type of style of running since he left.
That's right.
Taking nothing from most of them stuff, but none of them run his style of. That was straight up the middle, smash mouth, mean grown man running.
Yes, yes, it was. And he just kept going. Shane, I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate Shane coming in with the fact I was asking about. Rob, the running back with the second most games played was Lorenzo Neal. I just need to look up how many he had to see the difference between Frank at 241 and how many did Lorenzo Neal finish with. That will be the question I want to answer. By the way, Celts Chronicles saying what I was thinking. Bennett with the fire hoodie. I'm telling you. SF.
Hey, I had to wear it because I just actually received it yesterday.
Nice.
I told you I coach youth football in Virginia.
Yes,
here,
sir.
And my friend who's the head coach is a Cleveland Browns fan.
Uh-oh.
He said, come past the house. I got something for you. I know you're going to love it. And so I went past the house. He was like, he showed me his hoodie because he has a Cleveland Browns one. And I'm like, oh, that's a fly hoodie. He said he owed me lunch during the season because of something I did for him. And he was like, but I never, I wasn't tripping off it.
Right.
He said, I know I owed you lunch, but here. I was like, I'm going to wear it on the cat. I said,
my man, that's a dope ass hoodie. And that, I mean, I got to say, like, that's better than lunch, right? You're going to be wearing that thing all the damn time. You're never going to forget about that.
So I was like, oh man. So he knows me. He knows me. He knows I'm Niners all day.
Yes.
But
yes, sir. And by the way, they answered 239. I'm surprised that it's not all that many games behind Frank Gore. 239 for Lorenzo Neal, second most. I'm going to eat my words on that. By the way, Chris Royal wants to say, William, my dude, you better have a comic book character shirt under that hoodie, my dude. He's going back to the Marvel. He's back on the Marvel.
He took it off. I had a Dragon Ball Z shirt on, t-shirt on. But I took it off to put the hoodie on because it was a little humid. So
hey man, if you're gonna break tradition for a Niners hoodie, I'm good with it, dude. I'm good with it.
Trust me, it's sitting actually right next to me. But that's the only reason I broke the tradition, Chris, just so I could show this fly 49ers hoodie for y'all.
I think you made the right freaking choice. I'm with it. Jeffrey Bong coming in, hoodie of the century. Love it. All right, so what do you think of the Alex Mack news? I mean, does that catch you off guard, or did you see this one coming? Which side were you on coming up to the announcement?
Honestly, I'm not caught off guard at all. Honestly, I'm kind of relieved.
Okay.
Because sometimes us as Niners, we don't like to move forward with certain things.
And on to the past.
When I know with you and some of the other faithful feel no news is good news, to me was such a critical, because me being a assistant football coach and knowing how significant a center role is.
Yeah.
Because you got to understand, before the quarterback, the first person, I always tell my centers, you control the direction of this game.
Right.
You touch the ball before anybody. If your snaps or whatever is off, none of these plays are going to go right. So that's how important the center role is. And when Alex Mack never confirmed over the offseason and all this time whether he was gonna come back or not. Because I'm kind of, if you're coming back, it's not gonna take too long for you to figure. Look at Tom Brady. It didn't take him long, did it?
Yeah, a freaking month, and he just came out of nowhere with that retirement.
Exactly, it took him a month. So for Alex Mack, the thing when they said, "Oh, he got married and went on," and I'm like, "And you still don't know?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's retiring."
Yeah,
it was basically on the wall, and I think Kyle and them was hoping that maybe he would change his mind. I feel now the thing is, as I said, I'm worried about the O-line.
Yeah,
it's such a crucial position. And especially starting Trey Lance really in his first NFL season.
Yeah, his first full season.
Because Kyle and them want Trey to play on the center.
Right.
The center. you feel what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong, Brosgill, but come on. You're a Band-Aid. You're not the solution.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I feel. So like I get what Ken Martin is saying here, and I think there's some validity to it. He says stop panicking, trust the process, 100%. Right, I get that. And Jerome Davis is like, yeah, I'm on board with that, and I see that point of view. I get it. They've earned some trust. A couple of players that they've said we're going to take the next step have taken the next step. But there are a lot of people they're asking us to trust them on right now. And when it comes to Jake Brendel, it's a very small sample size for me to look at. So I do trust it, and it's a big question mark for me. I find myself sort of right down the middle there. I'm not panicking, but I'm also really fascinated with how Jake Brendel is going to look when we get pads on.
I agree with you. With you, Rob, I'm not panicking.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned. I'm not the type of person to where I'm not just gonna hope that everything's lollipops and rainbows. You know what I'm saying? If it was other positions, I would be, okay, we got depth on that. But center has always not been a very big depth position we've had.
No.
And going into this season and not looking at our schedule and with our quarterback that's just starting, I would like that O-line to be a lot more centered. But if you look at Kyle's career, offensive line has never been him or his father's strong suit. Sure, ask RG3.
Right. Oh, goodness. Ooh. Yeah, RG3 may have some things to say about that.
Real with that. So, but I trust that Kyle's going to feel, despite what happens, he's going to be able to call plays to minimize the position. But honestly, what I think is going to happen with the cap that Brunskill has freed up with retiring, hopefully Jimmy won't be on this team, so that will free up cap. I think we're going to go out and get a center.
Yeah. So you think maybe like a Jake Shredder or one of the remaining free agents out there?
I mean, I think we're going to just go out and get a center. It's just not a position that you want to go into a season, especially hoping to make playoffs and stuff, but you're guessing on it.
Right. I do agree. Like Randall Riley, Sneakerhead here on the channel, has been saying that, hey, center is one of those positions that there aren't that many great centers out there. Says, name 5 centers in the league without Google. And that would be hard to do, like admittedly, for even people that follow the sport quite well. But I think within Shanahan's system, there is that increased importance for that center position.
I tell people this. This one, I knew that Seattle fell off.
Mm-hmm.
If most people understand. Seattle used to have like the number 1 center in the league. When they had that center, when they had the Legion of Doom and all that, they were vicious.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson hardly got touched, had plenty of time to move around and do what he wanted. When that center left, all of a sudden you seen people just running through that center position, coming straight on in. Yeah. And then that communication is gone.
Yeah, and Wilson's stacks went way up for the last few years of his career, and we all know what happened there.
Right. So, like I said, I it's a reason why we're called a favorite. So I have faith. I'm not panicking, but I'm not gonna just ignore the elephant in the room.
Yes, right. All right. So clearly, offensive line is going to be the position group that I think most of us have our eyes on. But aside from that, we're just hitting the 6 o'clock hour. I got a few down in the waiting room I want to get to before calling it, before the game starts. But who's the one position group other than offensive line that you're really going to be keying in on? Like, what's the camp battle that William Bennett is focused on?
It will be probably safety and nickel.
Nice. Looking at Talanoa Hufanga. Who do you think, is there anyone, do you see George Odom as maybe the biggest competition for Talanoa Hufanga at that safety spot?
I really, right now, I can't say until we really get some training camp and get some real practice and get them shoulder pads on and see who's stepping up and who wants it really. It's one thing to do when you're not hitting and all of that. It's another thing when you're in the camp and there's jobs on the line and now people are trying to embarrass you.
Right. Jerome Davis agrees with you. He's got his eyes on the safeties. Well, I mean, clearly you won the votes for the fire hoodie of the day, William. This was a phenomenal call, as always, my friend. You know I appreciate it when you come on the show. Cheers to you, brother.
Cheers to you and the faithful.
All right. We are at the 6 o'clock hour. William, thank you for calling in. I will see you again very soon, sir.
You know it.
All right. We are bringing in Jaguar 56. We're going to keep going. We got 4 more down in the waiting room. We'll keep going. We'll try to keep it to, about 5 minutes just so that you guys can get to watching Celtics Warriors. Jaguar 56 coming on in. How are you doing, Jaguar?
Oh, pretty good, Rob. And yourself?
I am doing very well. Enjoying the show so far. It's picked up my spirits. I like celebrating Frank Gore.
Yes, definitely. A Hall of Famer in my book.
Yes, a Hall of Famer, no doubt. I'm with you.
So a couple of things I just wanted to touch on real quick. I think the 49ers had a pretty good idea that Mack was going to retire because of the fact that, when he went over there to, I guess, Ireland to get married and Kittle, I believe, and I don't know if it was Juice went over there too. I think they probably did a little scouting report for Shanahan and told him, hey, coach, I don't know. It's kind of iffy with Mack here. And I think that's why I think they got so many rookies, O-linemen, Burford and Sattel, Poe, West. And I think they all are looking pretty good in the OTAs. I mean, it's early, but I think they look pretty good. And remember that the Chiefs, they started, I believe, 2 rookies, and I believe one was a center from Oklahoma that they got, and they did pretty good. So
they did all right.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we have to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think they'll be okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is Womack looks pretty good, and they say also that Hufanga has improved a lot. He looks a lot more confident. He looks stronger, and he seems to be like more comfortable in his position.
Yes. I mean, that's exciting to me because I looked at, hey, the 49ers didn't add any ball hawks. And then again, I went back and looked at his last year at USC. Lo and behold, the man had 4 interceptions and 2 forced fumbles. So he does have a nose for the ball. And it could very well be that he's the answer to my prayers in that regard.
I mean, he's just a football player.
Yes.
Right? He's just a football player. And the other thing is the most intriguing situation in camp to me is the running back.
Yes. Okay.
The running back room. Just because I think it's going to be important for I'm intrigued with TDP.
Yeah.
He's a big dude. He's
big
fat.
Dude.
And hopefully he can take some of the load and let Mitchell come in also. And I'm still hopeful with Trey Sermon. I'm still hopeful that he's able to come back and that would really benefit us because you could tell that Elijah Mitchell last year I mean, at the end of the year, he was pretty banged up. He was used up, you know.
Yeah, for sure. His body was holding on by a thread. That was just too much wear and tear. I would be much happier to have a division of carries and total yards like we did in 2019, where you had a three-headed monster. I could see that very much being Elijah Mitchell, TDP, and Trey Sermon.
That's a great running backs room right there.
Right?
And
telling you.
The other thing I wanted to touch on real quick is you think that if Trey has similar stats to Jimmy, do you think we'll be in a better position come the playoffs?
I really do, because my thought there would be, if he does similar statistics to Jimmy, that he will have more rushing yards. Jimmy never eclipsed more than 100 rushing yards in a season. I would be hard-pressed to believe that Trey Lance starts, 15 or more games and doesn't eclipse 100 yards rushing. That would be madness to me. If he didn't, maybe it would speak to how good of a pocket passer he developed into. But you would also hope that if he had those statistics over the course of a year, that he'd be trending up, right? With Jimmy, it was pretty consistent. You knew what you were getting. It was consistently inconsistent. That's how I always describe Jimmy Garoppolo. You knew that you were going to get a couple of boneheaded plays within each game, and you were going to get some really good plays within that game. It was going to be consistently inconsistent. With Trey, the hope is his first full year starting, that by the end of the season, he'll be on that upward trajectory, assuming we make the playoffs and he's getting hot. All of a sudden, that feels pretty good.
Exactly. And that's it. I just wanted to touch on those things. I know you got some other guys that are waiting. And today's my birthday. And
happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Hey, happy birthday. Let me get some happy birthdays in the chat. That's fantastic, man.
Yeah,
are you doing anything to celebrate tonight? You having any cake, any good meals? What's for dinner?
I'm waiting. Yeah, I'm going to wait till my kids come and then my grandkids. And then we're going to watch the Warriors. And hopefully the Warriors will give me a good present.
That's fantastic. Well, hey, I'm undecided on who I'm pulling for in this season, this series. I said I want it to go to Game 7, but you just sealed it on who I'm rooting for tonight, because I want you to get your birthday dub.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And you stay blessed and go Niners and go Warriors.
Go Niners. And you as well. Thank you so much for calling in. And again, happy birthday.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Wow, that's awesome. That makes me feel good. Always love it. All right, bringing in Korean 49er. Just want to get to One Bad Niner has put this in. Why would the Niners restructure Mac's contract? Are we going to keep kicking his salary down the road like D Ford? Just drop Jimmy already. What the F? It is a restructure. It does kick some money down the road. But if you know you're going to free up the $25 million at some point, and you're not going to use it all this season, I don't have as much of an issue with it. It did free up enough cap room for the 49ers to sign all 9 of their draft picks. So that's a good thing. I get what you're saying, One Bad Niner. They did kick some money down the road. But again, unless they were planning to spend the entirety of the $25 million that they free up from dropping Jimmy, then I don't have as much of an objection for it. It really was just moving money, knowing that they're going to move money again when Jimmy's money comes off the books. So not as big of a conundrum as the D Ford drama. All right, bringing in, let's see. Hold on just one second. I'm going to bring this in as soon as I get Korean 49er in the stream. Korean 49er, how you doing, man?
Can you hear me, Rob?
Yes, sir. Audio is crisp.
Camera wasn't working for whatever reason, so
I saw that earlier, but you got it going. You got it rolling, and I'm digging it.
So I did say Mac would retire. I just didn't know when, because he did look pretty beat up after that championship game. And it looked like, why put yourself, get yourself back to 310 pounds and have to collide with fellow 310-pound linemen if you don't have to.
Yeah, right. Especially after you've just gotten married to I'm assuming, I haven't actually seen pictures, but an NFL wife, I just happen to assume that she's beautiful, but a beautiful Irish woman. I'm sure she's beautiful, whether it's her spirit, her mind, or her body, that is as such. But I could see why, freshly married, you might just say to yourself, you know what, maybe it's time to hang up the cleats. Maybe I'll go enjoy Ireland for a little bit.
Well, you got to understand that nowadays, if you look at most of the younger players, they're all retiring before they hit 30 just for whatever reason. They want to go do other things and not have to put up with CTE or whatever
right.
may come. So
yes. You do see more and more that defensive tackle from the Steelers retired as well. And they were saying on NFL Live yesterday that, it was their interpretation that he was still in the prime of his career. That may be a slight embellishment, but he certainly appeared to have years in front of him, and he walked away. We saw Chris Borland do the same thing. I mean, more and more athletes are taking into consideration life after football. So good on Alex Mack for doing that. I wish him the best of health and a successful post-career. I just want to bring in the super chat that Kevin sent in here, Sneakerhead here on the channel. Can you ask SwanSong to look into why we can't see each other? I feel an empath moment. I would hate to go to sleep without all the love that's shared here. Good night, faithful. Kevin, I just leave it up to each individual is my thing, is like, hey, camera on, you're welcome to do it. Camera off, you're welcome to do it. I think for some people, it becomes easier whether they're moving around at home or they may not be in a stable environment where they can just sit down and have something behind them that they want to show. Whatever the reason may be, it could be, I'm not putting words into SwanSong's mouth. This has nothing to do with SwanSong's choices. But for different people, they may have different reasons is what I'm saying there. And to me, it's whatever you're comfortable with. So I encourage people, if they're comfortable, to turn on the video on the Sneakerhead member call-in shows. That's what they're welcome to do. But I always respect people's choice to keep it voice only as well. All right, Korean 49ers. So OTAs, we're in the second week. We've obviously had our second day of media availability. Like, what are some of the storylines that have come up for you? What has fascinated you so far about some of these organized team activities coming back together?
Just happy to talk about actual, things that will actually lead to real football, not,
not just pure speculation, but like a little grain of truth, then with more speculation.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
So I did kind of have a feeling that they would sign the rookies when they held most of them up, most or all out yesterday. I kind of had that weird feeling in the back of my mind. I was like,
yeah,
okay, they're pretty close. Maybe within the next day or two, something will get taken care of. So I wasn't too horribly worried about it. So, and usually it was going to happen at some point. So
yeah, right. And then when we look at these upcoming battles that are going to happen, again, offensive line being taken off the table, because that's just one that we're all going to tune into. What are some of the positions or position battles that you're really going to key in on once we start to get more video?
I kind of have two, so that might be unintentionally cheating. Who's going to play opposite of Bosa is my main one.
Ooh, now do you think? Let me just do some probing on that one before we hit the second one. Do you think there's a chance that it's a third down pass rush specialist role for Drake Jackson, much like it was for Aldon Smith? Or does your gut, I know this is way too early, to Sean 951's point. Like, we're all speculating at this point, so I'm not holding you to this. Who's your sort of dark horse to end up opposite Bosa if it's not Drake Jackson? Of the other guys, D'Amico Turri, Jordan Willis, Charles Omenihu, Samson Ebukam, I'm sure I'm forgetting some other names that could slip in there. Who's your dark horse to end up opposite of Bosa?
I'm thinking for the time being, it'll be either Omenihu or Ebukam.
Okay.
At least to start out with.
I like it. I got my eye on Toure just because I don't know much about him, and he's intriguing from his time with the Colts. But I agree, that's going to be a very interesting camp battle to watch. Who was the second one that you teased?
So when they actually play three linebackers, who are the other two outside of Fred? Because they do have a lot of choices and options. They could always flip Dre Greenlaw for an asset.
Yeah. I do wonder if he's still going to be on the team come week one. That to me is still a question mark, that you could want to move him for a draft pick in this season's draft as opposed to waiting for that compensatory draft pick if he signs somewhere else after this season.
And also, after watching the Grant and Larry Krueger discussion stream they had yesterday, they did pick up some intriguing targets, and they did flip Justin Hilliard last year for a pick to Denver. So who knows if that'll happen again.
Right. And you would think you could get more for Dre Greenlaw than you did last year.
Yeah. We would guess that. So
I like it. On
a lighter note before I leave, I saw Deftones and Gojira last week in Milwaukee. That was a fun show. It was a good show. First time seeing both bands. It was a
Very
little
cool.
warm inside the venue, but it was kind of cool outside. Kind of weird, but it is what it is. So
Yeah, right. Did you have a good time? Enjoy yourself?
I had a good time. I took the best friends with me. I take earplugs since all my hobbies and interests are very loud.
That's a good choice. I do that sometimes when I remember to when I'm going up to the stadium in Seattle, because the last thing I want to hear is that damn Seahawks chant at full volume. I'm telling you. And I'm already deaf from riding in my car with 12 subs. As a kid, I bumped some music. I had a little too much Eazy-E and Dre going on back in the 90s.
Can understand that one.
Yeah.
And no, yes, remember those
Sir.
Minnesota food suggestions if you actually do go.
I am on it. Absolutely. For the Minnesota ones, I'm going to consult you before because my memory's terrible. So when it comes up, you and I are going to connect. And then same thing for Chicago, dude. Absolutely.
There's a weird. I'll leave on this. If you're in St. Paul by the arena where the hockey team plays,
Okay.
there is an actual converted boxcar. A boxcar got converted to a restaurant.
Ooh.
It only has room for like 5 people to actually sit and eat inside. It's very cozy inside, but
That's
the food
the
is
spot?
awesame. I can't remember
love
the name of it, but
inside
I've been
food
there.
information.
Yes, and remember to go get some good walleye, since walleye fishing is very big in Minnesota and that in the northern area.
Got to get that walleye, my friend. Got to get it.
So, all right,
I appreciate
thanks,
it.
Rob.
Hey,
Yeah, just send me a message on whenever, and I'll try to fill you in on what I know.
you know I will, my friend. Always good to see you.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, take care. All right, bringing in Niner Empire DMV to the stream. Niner Empire, how you doing, man?
I'm all right. Just getting off work.
Nice. What do you think of the news breaking today, man? What went through your head when you heard that? Were you prepared for it?
I was prepared for it because I've been a 49er. I've been a Frank Gore fan since Miami Hurricanes. So
Yes, sir.
I've been watching since he was in college. So for him to be, he is an example of what doing it the 49er way means.
Yes, well
He did it
said.
the 49er way. He gave it his all. No matter what, he never gave up. He always came ready to training camp. He always came ready to practice. He always came ready for each game. He did it the 49er way.
Yes, he did.
And for him to go get enshrined in the 49er Hall of Fame, he deserved it. For him to go into the Hall of Fame of the National Football League, he deserves it. Because you never heard him in the media talking bad about his team. You never heard him negative about the 49ers. He held us with the utmost respect, and he represented the brand of the 49ers well.
Yes, he did. He spoke about this team and this fan base like they were family. And that's the way I always felt about Frank Gore. The players I respect, the players that I love, feel like family to me. I know that that's a little bit weird for a grown man to say, but that's the connection that I feel with these athletes who are going out there and laying their lives on the line for this sport. And Frank Gore, to me, was the embodiment of the 49er way. I couldn't think of a better way to say it than that.
But what you're explaining is the definition of a faithful 49er fan.
Yes.
It's what we grew up on watching. I started at 88. The first game I saw them play was in the Super Bowl, Bengals versus 49ers. And I chose to be a 49er fan. I never stopped being a 49er fan. And Frank Gore always reminded me of Garrison Hurst. Same concept. Comeback player of the year. He always brought it every game.
Oh, Garrison Hurst.
The game in 99 when he ran for 90-something yards in overtime to win the game.
Number 20. I was there for that game. Me and my dad were at that game against the Jets when he skittered off along the frickin' sideline in overtime, sealing that victory. I lost my frickin' mind, as I always did in a win by my Niners. Yes, Garrison Hurst, man, another guy who had immense heart, right? I obviously couldn't do it with the longevity that Frank Gore did, and that elevates Frank Gore in what he was able to accomplish. I get so frustrated when I hear people say that, well, the amount of time he played in the league dilutes his stats. No, it adds to his legend, because only legends can last in the NFL that long.
Hey, think about it. He's third. He's third. He is third in most rushing yards. Who would ever thought that a 49er would be third in rushing yards? And I wanted us to sign him back to help him break the record with us.
Yeah,
He was still popping off 1,000 yards after he left the 49ers.
He only needed 764 to beat out Walter Payton, and he would have been 2. One more season, he would have got it.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. It's like when you look at it from the longevity of it, he did everything the 49er way, the way you're supposed to do it. Like a lot of our legends have done it at 49ers. Like Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Steve Young. He's up there.
Yes,
you
he
can't
is.
take that from him.
Always,
wherever he went, he always said, I always will love the 49ers.
Yes, I love that quote by him. He said, I will always refer to us and we when talking about San Francisco. I just love his attitude. I only got 2 jerseys up in this office, 2 framed jerseys that are signed. The one that you see over here, Joe Montana, but the one you can't see right over here is Frank MF and Gore. And that's the 2 legends I have up in the office, Montana and Gore. Different eras, but the same level of heart, the same meaning to the organization in that way.
Exactly. I mean, I'm glad he's doing it now. He's going out with grace. He's going out the way he started and the way he should end it. And they should retire his jersey number.
Yes.
Like he deserves that.
100%. That number, I know we can't retire many more freaking jersey numbers because we're the 49ers and we already retired a bunch because we've had some really good players. But this one, Jed, make the exception. This is the time. This is the exception to the rule. Retire number 21. There shouldn't be another. It's Frank Gore, number 21.
I remember when we drafted him. Everybody looked at me and laughed. They was like, why you like Frank Gore so much? I said, he's another Garrison Hurst. He can be better than Garrison Hurst. They was like, why you keep saying? I said, because he went through the same thing Garrison Hurst did in the NFL. He got comeback player of the year twice. Frank Gore has had injuries like crazy in college. And he still was renowned as the best running back out of Willis McGahee, out of Clinton Portis. Right. Like, I mean, and they all said, who the best running back out of that Miami crew was Frank. Everybody said it.
And he was a true freshman when going up against those 2, right? A true freshman. And people were like, yeah, that's the truth right there.
I mean, stats speak for itself.
Yes, they do.
The stats and the longevity he has put in, look at it. He lasted longer than all of them. And they came out before him.
Yep. Man, Frank Gore, what an inspiration. Fires me up. I freaking love it. Let me bring in Chris Royal, Super Chat here. Thanks for the content, Rob. I appreciate the conversation, my man. Look forward to connecting again next week. Chris, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming in. All right, Niner Empire. So if you got your eye on a camp battle, because we're going to be getting to that point, maybe not in the near future, but it's coming. Other than O-line, if we take that out and we say to ourselves, yeah, O-line is going to be something we all got our eyes on, is there one particular position, player, or position group that you've got your eye on to see what shakes out?
I have a couple. There's only maybe a few.
Yeah.
Who's going to take that 3rd wide receiver spot?
Okay, you want to see if Juwan Jennings can hold it down or whether one of the new additions comes in to grab it?
Well, I mean, I like Juwan Jennings. I like Juwan Jennings when we got him. And I knew that he was going to eventually, if he gets his time, he would show that he can be a specific piece of the puzzle, and he might fill in that void we had from Kendrick Bourne leaving. Right. So I wasn't worried about that, but he had to get his chance. But now with you got Gray, you got these other receivers coming up, you got to see like what type of packages do you want to use for our speedy receivers? Yes. Like who is going to be your starting 3 receivers? We're not going to put Kittle in it. We all know Kittle's going to be on the field. Right. At majority of the time, whether it be run block or going out for passes. And what we're seeing from Trey Lance, he likes throwing it to the tight ends. Yes.
Early on, the returns are good for tight ends.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, that's a good thing because, like, let's look at it. Jimmy Garoppolo, when he was starting, you know, that wasn't his style. Right. Like, I mean, yes, he liked to throw in the middle, but he always threw it in the wrong window. As what we're seeing with Trey is in OTAs, he's throwing it in the right window. He's gonna have some hiccups because he's got to get the game reps under his belt. Yeah, but he's young. Throwing it in the right windows and putting the receiver in the best position to catch the ball and make a football move on the defender, you can't beat that.
No, you can't. You can't.
And then you got to look at You gotta look at that nickelback position. Who's gonna be our nickelback?
I'll tell you what, I slept on Darquez Denard last season when we added him. Moses, who comes on the channel sometimes, is definitely active in the chat. I saw him today, correctly called out that he had his eye on him last season and spoke him up, gave praise for his ability. I didn't realize until this offseason that he was drafted ahead of Jimmy Ward, ahead of Jason Verrett in that same draft. So he's got the talent. It'll just be a question of whether he can put it all together and lay claim to that nickel spot.
Exactly. And that's my thing is like the nickelback is very important because when a lot of the teams we're going to be playing, when they play spread out, look at the Rams, look at the Cardinals, they play a lot of spread out. So we got to have a nickelback that can solidify that slot. So I know our D-line is going to get pressure this year.
Yes.
The addition that we had with the rotations that we got, we're not worried about the D-line no more.
Right.
It's mostly about the nickelback safety issues. Like, who's going to be that safety beside Jimmy Ward? And then Jimmy Ward has an injury-prone issue as well. So you got to see who's his backup as well.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of questions with the defensive backs and with that third wide receiver set. I'm not really worrying about Debo. If Debo's going to be here, he's under contract.
Yeah.
Now, if he wants to play hardball, he can play hardball. But if you looking at a man like Frank Gore retiring and you going through your contract issue, do it the 49 way. You never heard Frank Gore talk about contracts.
No.
Never heard about Frank Gore talking about, well, I have an issue with this, that. He came in there, he did his job. Like Garrison Smith's old quote, another day, never hard dollar, dog. It's the same concept every day you play. Every day you
work. I'm telling you, Terror Dome coming in, resiliency, toughness, competitiveness, durable. Frank Gore. He just was. He embodied those things. I do have to call out Howdy Partner coming in. Yeah, the almighty sun has made its appearance behind me. I had to turn up. I had to crank up my lights. See, I got the remote right here so I can blow myself up. Get that out of there, right? But you're dealing with the sun there too. I'm guessing that the sun has just made its presence felt for both of us. Yeah. All right, so this has been a fantastic call. I want to keep going, but I got to get to Waruna and log off so people can go watch the Warriors. But Niner Empire, we got to make this happen again. We got to get you back on here. I know we have before, but we got to try and get you in again, my friend.
Okay, no problem. I'll be on next week.
Hey, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you bringing it.
I appreciate you too. Thanks, Rob.
All right, man. Have a good night. Safe drive.
You too.
All right. We're closing this thing out with Waruna, and I'm bringing it. I didn't ignore it. By the way, the hot lights are on. I'm starting to sweat now. It's that kind of temperature where I'm going to have to switching it up from a hoodie to something a little lighter than that. But I wanted to bring in Dave Owens. I didn't miss it, Dave, but I wanted to wait to the right time. So Waruna's going to help me with it. Trey Lance fails. Will he be the next Ryan Leaf? That's Dave Owens. He paid to say this, so I'm putting it on there. I'm giving it the time of day. I don't agree with it. I don't think Trey Lance has a big chance of failing. I think he's set up for success. And no, I certainly do not believe he's going to be the next Ryan Leaf, who dealt with his own addiction issues and many other things. I believe that we have seen the character of Trey Lance, and it is not this. But I want to get another person's opinion on it. Waruna, welcome to the stream. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great.
Welcome back, man. It's been a little while since we've had you on.
Yes.
It's good to see your smiling face. What do you think of this? Number one, do you think that there's much of a chance of Trey Lance not succeeding? And then number two, would you in any way, with what you've seen so far, compare him to someone like Ryan Leaf, who had pretty significant struggles coming into transitioning into the NFL?
I mean, statistically, whatever the way, yes, there might be a chance that Trey Lance can be a failure. I mean, that can happen, right? Still, yes. I don't think anyone can guarantee that 100% Trey Lance is going to be top 5, top 10 quarterback in the league.
That's right. Definitely an unknown at this point.
Yes. I mean, forget about the his potential, everything, the work that he's done. What if he's get injured like RG3, right? So then you are gone.
You never know what unfortunate circumstances may befall anyone in this league. It is a very violent sport for sure.
Yes. So that's the thing. But for the second part of the question, I don't think he's that character. I have seen enough to say that, I mean, basically I can say with 100% confident that he is not that player. He has good work ethic because we are seeing that. I mean,
we have seen clear-cut evidence of that. I feel like that's indisputable at this point to some degree.
Yes. And especially, even though 49ers are not officially saying Trey Lance is our starting quarterback and everything, they are doing everything in the way to make sure that Trey Lance is the starter at the beginning of the season and putting everything around him, making sure that eventually he's going to be the starter for, let's say, 5 years, 10 years. So that's why, because right now nobody is even talking about Jimmy. They are always focused on Trey, everything, trying to put players around him. So I think he has a good chance to be a successful quarterback, but you never know.
That's right. That's a very prudent way to say it, that he's set up for success. Everything we've seen so far would indicate he is going to be a good quarterback. Certainly everything that we've seen so far indicates that there aren't character issues, that he has what it takes from that leadership, work ethic standpoint. We have concrete evidence of that. But it is an unknown with every player in the NFL, right? Anyone on this team. It could go in a sharply different direction than what we're expecting. So I think that is a very prudent way to say it.
Actually, I just want to remind one thing so people can take it on a different angle.
Yeah.
Nick Mullens, who is a third-string quarterback now in the league,
right?
After his first 13 starts, he had stats just second to Patrick Mahomes and Andrew Luck.
That's right.
So, I mean, you can set up Nick Mullens to be a successful quarterback in this system. So obviously Trey Lance has a better potential than Nick Mullens. So, I mean, make your calculations.
Yes. And it is fair to be very optimistic at this point. I love 420 Savage's take here. Lance is a baller. Watch, he's like Magic Johnson. He's going to dominate. I tend to agree with that optimism, but I also like the prudence here. I like the idea of the fact that we're talking about, maybe he will be that. My projection is that he will be that.
Yes, that's what I'm hoping to. So the other thing I wanted to discuss with you is today that, I mean, I was kind of surprised with the Alex Mack's retirement. So I thought, he will come back, because if he was to retire, he would have done that already, because we are basically at the OTAs and everything.
Right.
So I'm kind of thinking now, 49ers did not try to, go after a free agent or a player who is significant enough that, as a year one starter in this center position.
Right.
So kind of, I'm thinking that 49ers are unofficially in a mini rebuild mode, because given the schedule that we have this year, playing AFC West and everything, so they're like, with the Trey Lance starting, I believe they are kind of in a comfortable state, knowing that, okay, we are going to back Trey Lance, we are going to pick this. We had 9 draft picks this year, but none of them are like in top 50. So probably maybe if we can, let's say, turn at least 2-3 guys out of that 9 to like strong starters, we would be fine. So they're just trying to like probably take 2 to 3 years. Not going to tank, I would say, but let's say win 9 games, 10 games, and make sure Trey Lance is ready by the time that probably he progresses through the NFL.
Yeah.
Put more weapons around him and go for that championship. I just have a feeling that even though we have all the other pieces around him, like Debo and everyone, this year might be a season that they might be not pressing it too hard.
That was my take in my observations of what the 49ers have as an organization have done this offseason, that I also saw it as a bit of hedging their bets, just a little bit of caution, so that they had additional ammunition they could use to really push chips into the center when they confirm that Trey is who they hope he is. And that could be in the middle of this season. They could make some moves where they give up additional draft assets from next year to bring in a player. That could be using, some of those salary cap dollars that are available from trading Jimmy to bring in another player. Heck, you could see Odell Beckham Jr. potentially still being available into the season. That could be the type of mid-season acquisition you could make. And yet again, in the offseason next year where they can really know what they have in Trey Lance and use their assets as they see fit at that point. I share that sentiment, that I got that sense from the organization.
Yeah, the final point that I wanted, I think I actually almost forgot it. About Alex Mack, I think there is kind of a, what you call panic since Alex Mack has retired. Now
Certainly.
we don't have certain starter, a sure starter. But the part of the reason for that is we remember the Alex Mack version who was in the latter part of the last season, because during first 5 weeks it was horrible.
Right.
If you remember, quarterbacks were catching passes from one hand. It was tad slow because by the time his snap got through whoever the quarterback, already the defensive players were on the backfield. So I think it's a good thing that we did let him go. I think that enabled us to sign the rookies without, forcing their hand to cut Jimmy Garoppolo right now. So just hoping that maybe some team will still bite. So it's a good thing, I would say, so they can train another player. And one thing that I'm hopeful is that 49ers are right now with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. I criticize them very harshly, but one thing they have built is they have a system that they can improve players, build players, as well as coaches. Robert Saleh was gone, but here comes DeMeco Ryans. Now we have quarterback coach. So they have a system. Basically, you can build whatever you need. Either it's players, either it's coaches. So you have that ingredients, the background foundation. So we shouldn't be worried about that much. Max retiring, I think they should be covered. They must have some plans how to get through that.
I think you're right about that, Waruna. They clearly have known for some time. I don't believe that Mac held this back from them, and they didn't make any moves. So they must be pretty confident with where they are in-house right now or whatever backup plan they have. All right, we are well into the Warriors game. So let me get one final question to you, Waruna, as we close this thing out. What's the one position group or player in particular you're going to have your eye on when we get into camp? What's going to fascinate you the most to see who claims a role?
Hufanga. I want to see whether he can fill the void.
What's your prediction? Does he end up starting alongside Jimmy Ward, or does some other dark horse climb into it?
I would say it's 50-50. I'm still not sold on Hufanga.
Not sold on Huff yet, huh? Those words of praise that were heaped on him by DeMeco Ryans yesterday.
Yes. So, I really want him to be succeed.
Yes.
But I'm still, Tart and Ward is the perfect combination. So I'm a bit worried over here. So I'm just praying, okay, Hufanga, take your chance and at least be like 80% good with that combination.
I'd take it. 80% good with that 100% hair. That'd be something to behold in Hufanga, right? I am certainly jealous of Hufanga in that particular area. Yeah. Well, Waruna, thank you so much for being on here. I appreciate you calling in. Let's all go watch this Warriors-Celtics game 1 of the finals. But thank you very much for being on. I hope to see you again in the near future.
Have a good night.
Hey, you too, Waruna. All right, fantastic. The sun did come in. I cranked up the lights, and now I'm all bright on the screen. That's what happens when I run longer than I thought I was going to. I'm going to go watch this game. I hope you're watching this game. This was a great show. I love the call-in show. I love the interaction. Thank you if you were here in the chat as a part of it. I totally agree with Raphael 5629er. Leaving as well. Great show from Leaving. Great show, Rob, from Raphael 5629ers. I appreciate all of you here in the chat, all of your contributions, and the fact that you are here, part of the dialogue, and being positive. To the one person that I had to hit the timeout, I agree with the sentiment that was shared by others in the chat, that if that's the attitude you're going to bring, please don't come back. I say that with as much respect as possible in this instance, because I want to say it with less respect, but I'm not going to, because every person deserves respect. So until next time, I will be back on tomorrow with Jack Hammer. No, Jack has a freaking graduation. Congratulations to Jack Hammer, whose oldest is graduating this week. That's fantastic. It is college graduation. I should be on tomorrow, but I got to find a guest. So it should be a surprise. Follow me on Twitter. I don't have my Twitter handle up, but the Left Shoe on Twitter. Follow me there. I will be on, and I'll be on with Grant in the morning unless he has a conflict. Until then, cheers, faithful.